Welcome to the Life in Flow podcast.
The three of us, Yulia, Polina, and Irina, are exploring what life in flow and flow in life is.
Join us as we experiment, test our diverse hypotheses, and have fun in the process.
Will we find an answer?
This isn't just an intellectual discussion. We're co-creating a shared field beyond words. We're attuning to what emerges moment by moment so that the conversation itself becomes a group flow experience.
And we invite you to become an active participant in this experiment. There will be pauses and moments of silence. We leave them on purpose because this is where magic happens.
Go beyond the intellectual information. Listen with your whole body and notice how your somatic experience shifts in the process. Share with us what reveals itself in the space where mind, body, and energy flow together.
Welcome to Life in Flow. I'm Polina, I'm moderating today. And I'm here with my co-hosts, Yulia and Irina. And today we're diving into intuition. Ooh. What is it really? How does it relate to flow? And can we learn to receive and follow intuition more skillfully? Let's begin by arriving together and do a quick centering. Find your feet on the floor, and we're inviting the audience, whoever's listening, to do this with us. It's a great little practice. Find your feet on the floor. Find each little toe and each middle toe and each big toe and wiggle them if you need to. Let your body settle, whether you're sitting or standing, settle wherever you are. Take a deep breath through your nose and feel the expansion of your tummy. And then the release on the breath out. One more time, in, and the expansion in your chest. Out, the release and the movement back down of the chest. Now bring your awareness to your spine and imagine that each vertebra is a pearl on a string. And with every breath, let that string lengthen upward gently. You're tuning your inner instrument, and then you relax back down and you feel the body coming back a little bit more. Okay, so this just gets us a little bit more in the body. This is a practice that the three of us do all the time. And I think each of us practices in their own way in our daily lives. Let's do a quick exercise just to drop into maybe our own intuitive fields a little bit more. A quick game, I think it's called First Sense. We'll each say a word that intuitively arises from the one before. So no thinking, no story, just the first sense, right? About the word that was presented. So I'll bring up the first word. Kindness.
Heart.
Integration.
Synthesis.
Whole.
Expansion.
Coherence.
Light.
Wave.
Surfing.
Water.
Direction.
No thinking.
I was actually not thinking. I was trying to sense what's coming up, but there's no word coming up. There's like a sensation coming up. It's like mm, oscillating.
Vibration.
Drops.
Okay, cool. Okay. Thank you for playing. Now let's dive into some questions, see what unfolds. These questions really are inviting story, reflection, insight, whatever comes. Can you share a story when you felt a very strong intuitive nudge?
Can I bring magic too early in in the conversation, or will I scare
Whatever's
people?
arising. Yeah.
So it involves the like the so hot topic, at least among some of us recently, the topic of human design. And for me, like when I encountered human design and I launched into this personal experiment, it was all about, like how to learn to listen to this inner voice that is supposed to emerge in the body and manifest somehow in the body. And that I was absolutely resolved on, like, I will learn to live only listening to this voice. And I was following one guy on Instagram or on YouTube, like social media, and he was directing, let's say, like esoteric, the magical school. And I loved like the way how he was talking about things. And so I subscribed to the school, and one day I received the message from the school that it was an invitation to sign up to one of their like main courses that I never had planned to do it. I wanted to start with them, but I was thinking maybe later, some of the others. I didn't want to sign up to this one. And when I received this message, this email, I had this very, very clear urge in the body saying to me, "You're like, yeah, this is it. This is the direction. You need to do that." So I was experimenting. I said, okay, then I will do that. And so I signed up to this course, and the whole course, it was all about you need to train your willpower. You need to train your willpower. And I was like, it has been a year or maybe even more that I was all immersed in the human design, and it's all about surrender your willpower. You have no control. You just learn to surrender and flow and go with life. And I was like, I don't understand what is happening. It's supposed that I followed my inner force, this intuitive signal that said me that I need to sign up here, and how am I supposed to reconcile these two contradictory messages? And one that's saying surrender control, and there is no willpower, there is no choice, and the other one, no, you need to train your willpower to exercise your will on the world, on your reality. And how I reconcile these two messages, it's in our story.
Well, can I ask you what it felt like, that intuitive hit that you felt in the body? Like, what can you describe the sensation? Where was it?
It's just like the physical pull, like that. It is. I don't know how to describe it. Just this is the thing with the intuition that it's very difficult to describe. You just I know that there was a physical sensation, that I felt it in the body, but I don't know how to describe it. It was like the physical pull that was directing me, like was saying like, this is the direction you need to go. You need to say yes to this.
Cool. Okay.
That is a story with an unexpected end, I would say. I was expecting lots of magic and how things work out, and I was thinking about my stories, and only very pragmatic things come to mind at the moment. Lately, excuse me, and lately I mean maybe the last 6 months or so, I have this nice feeling, I guess, of trust that whatever I do is going to work out some one way or another. Or there is a reason why I'm doing this. But now it also, for me, for example, with, doing stuff even around the house or even grocery shopping, it's like, I go to the store and usually I don't buy this particular product till Saturday, let's say. And now all of a sudden I buy it, I get home and I find out that tomorrow all stores are closed because there is some holiday I was not aware of. I'm like, I'm very much into gardening, running multiple experiences in the garden, but also like having lots of pots that I collected. And so I'm like going through the neighborhood, and some of the neighbors are giving away their old pots. And it's like, okay, I don't really need any pots at the moment. But then kind of like my hand grabs a particular pot, which was quite heavy. I was like, okay, it seems that I do need a pot for something. So I take the pot and I go, and yes, I do need exactly this pot just a couple days later. So anyway, those are some of the examples that came up for me.
I love that because you're actually sharing, as you said, a lot more practical examples, like intuition in their smaller day-to-day practical moments. It's so cool. Can I ask you to describe to me the sensory experience of that intuitive kind of intuitive hit, if you want to say whatever I don't know how you describe it in your words. What does it feel like?
I always want to say that it's like my body is doing something that the mind cannot explain, and I allow myself to not resist it. Something like that. It's like my head is doing that, and my mind is like, oh, wait, but no, that's wrong, but we shouldn't be doing that. I was like, okay, just shut up.
And Dan Siegel says the mind has its own mind, but it doesn't mean we have to listen to it. I love it. Okay, well, my example, it's funny because there's only one that's coming up, is actually about us doing this podcast together, right? We were experimenting and meeting and doing all kinds of different things, and then the idea of a podcast, I don't know, or so doing something together in a different way was sort of in the field, but not really. But then at some point, something happened. I don't remember exactly how that conversation came up or like what exactly led to it. But even though I had no idea what we're actually going to do, and we didn't, right? We collectively didn't have an idea of what we're going to do. Or how possible it was, or anything that would rationally be like, yeah, this is a good idea. Let's do this. It was literally for me like this intuitive pull of, okay, I have to like organize us, and I have to like transition us to actually doing it. So let's just do it, even though we have no idea what the hell we're doing or how or when or what. Let's just do it. And I remember that sensation was like, Kalita, just start it so that it's already like there, something's there for us to connect to, and then we'll see the rest. And even though my mind, as both of you have described, my mind was like, well, how, what, how, why, but the pool was there, and I chose. So that's like that. There was still a choice around it. I chose to follow the pool, and then here we are now, right? It was like a cool little sort of nudge forward, even though like, we still don't know exactly what we're doing or how it's all going to turn out, but it's the process and the journey. So that was my example.
I remember that day and how quickly a couple of things happened. It's like, from I think I had an urge also to send a text, and it was like, girls, maybe we could start a podcast. And I was like, yeah, let's. And Paulina is like, okay, how about this? And I'm, creating a web page for us. I was like, ooh, wow, that was.
Oh, that's cool. I don't remember that, but that makes sense. Maybe that was what prompted for me to even check, like, is this something, is there something that there's enough energy in the field for this? Like, should we do it? Do you remember, Ir, how it happened?
Well, we know that the memory is the beach, right? You're like, I remember it differently. It didn't happen in one day. But I do remember, like, it was Yula who said, girls, what about making podcasts together? I do remember your very enthusiastic reaction, Paulina. Yes, let's do it. So it was obvious that you had this intuitive answer already, yeah, that in the body and in the field, that yes, let's do it. But Paulina created the website, bought the domain, etc. later when we decided on the life and flow title. So it took us some time.
That's true, but there was some things I think when Yula gave that idea, I got super excited, but then there was a choice to make. Like, is this really a thing? Do we do something about it, or is this not a thing? And my intuitive hit in that moment was like, okay, someone like we either like move this whole thing forward and we lean in, or we don't. So there was like intuition, but also action that was required to energetically move the thing forward. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And sometimes the intuitive action, or like what the intuitive voice says to you to do, is not to take an action.
True.
Whereas your mind might say, no, like something needs to be done.
Yeah.
You need to do something. You need to solve this or whatever.
And I must say, those are difficult moments for me because I have a history. So in the this positive intelligence assessment, one of my biggest saboteurs is about avoidance. Avoider, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I tend to kind of like avoid and push things away till the last moment and things like that. And so, and then there are those moments when, okay, I know I need to do something, but I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it, and I think that I'm not doing it because of that like intuitive feeling. But then on the other hand, because I have this history of avoidance, it's like, really? Is it like intuition? Is it like you going back to where you were? So that's a tricky one for me.
I agree. Go ahead, Ir. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say, I think that it is always a challenge. At least for some, in certain circumstances, it also depends on our inner, how each of us is wired, I guess. But for me, at least, it's always a challenge to discern, like, and like to learn to find this fine line between, okay, yes, this is the inner knowing. This is the voice that I really need to listen, although it might contradict the rational mind. And here, this is my traumas, my fears, my complexes talking. And it's like, as we mentioned it a lot of times, it's just the constant path of, constant learning and experimenting and experiencing. And like you follow one voice and you realize that, nope, that was not the voice I was supposed to follow. So like you go through trial and error again, and you follow another voice and say, no, this time it was the other one. So like sometimes.
How do you know? How do you know, Ir? That was my actually next question. So thank you for segueing into it. How do you know whether it's like an actual intuitive, like wisdom piece of something coming up, or it's fear that's dressed up in
How do you mean? How do you evaluate it posteriori whether it was the correct?
How
Like
do you in the moment? Like what?
in the
What
moment, that this is the thing, like with me at least, it happens quite often that in the moment it feels like totally, yeah, this is the intuition, this is the voice I need to follow, because this is like the inner knowing, and you feel like, yes, there is the coherence in the body, the expansion and the fire. Yeah. And then later on you understand, well, I understand, yep, yeah, that was my old patterns disguised as my inner voice, that the fear that I didn't want to face because it's too painful. So it's was pushing me towards the action and making me to believe that, yeah, this is my mission, this is what I'm supposed to do, because I was trying to avoid certain unpleasant experiences.
So you're saying that usually for you, it is a post-processing thing. So are there any clues at all that maybe you are already becoming aware of, that in the moment you have a way to parse through whether this is actual intuition or it's, some of your saboteur patterns or some of the trauma patterns coming up? Like, is there anything that's a clue in the moment?
There are some clues, but they're not always present. So like all these different definitions of the intuition, they indicate that it's actually a concept that englobes different phenomena that we call with the same name. So some clues that I do use as guides in the moment is really like the sensations in the body that we could describe like as the expansion versus contraction. They might be very subtle. So what I was saying, that like everything is saying to you that you're like, yeah, this is the direction, this is what the steps that needs to be done, and your body is like, it. And one might say, yeah, but this is might be like a trauma reaction, like the freeze reaction. But there is also, and this is not so much the bodily sensation, there is something that I call the inner knowing, that sometimes really like there is the voice whispering to me, yeah, this is just the fear that you actually need to overcome. So there is this need to push through something, through resistance. And sometimes it's just like the body says, I'm not moving. because I don't know, it's not the moment, it's not the direction, these are not the steps that I'm supposed to feel, but nope. So like this, like the absence of automatic movement in the body, it's very similar to what Yulia described with her pause, or like in her like day-to-day actions. Just sometimes it's really like you know that you need to do things, but yeah, the body is not moving, and there is always this fight with the mind, that the mind says no, like you need to push, you need to go forward. And here I agree that it requires the inner regulation, the presence, to learn to really to hear very well the subtleness of each voices, and to learn to discern which one is which. So I would say it's, yeah, these are my clues, but I'm saying like they're not always present, or they might be mixed up. There might be too much of the information, or maybe too overwhelmed and not being aware of it to be able to discern all this. But the clues are mostly that's the expansion, or the feeling like the warmth, like the lightness in the body, or as opposed to contraction, like this thing. Nope.
Yeah.
It's just like the absence of the presence of the movement. That is just like that the body itself initiates. Just the body, does the body wants to move or not?
Got it.
And this is what this is the most difficult part to describe. What I call the inner knowing, this inner voice, that you know things, and then they're not coming from any rational thinking.
You know things in the body, you mean, and not necessarily in the brain? Is that what you're describing? Because you keep doing hand motion in front of your body, so you know somewhere, like, go ahead.
I would describe it like this. Like I think I perceive it's just like there is a field
Uh-huh.
around me.
Yeah.
Then not necessarily, because this is inner knowing, it's not a physical sensation. So I would say that I do locate it like in the center of this field, and I am also in the center of this field.
But it's not
But
necessarily
it's not
your
in the body. Yeah.
Oh, you see, because your hand motions made me feel like, oh, you're not describing something inside the body. You're actually describing something else.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's inside of me, but it's not inside of the body.
Cool. That's a really cool distinction. So it sounds like it's a pretty complex combination of all kinds of different elements, and even reading data that's not even necessarily in your physical body, right? When they talk about like that gut feeling, which makes us think, oh, it's actually inside the body. But what you're describing is there's a field from which you pick up your intuitive sense that's not in the body. It's in your kind of energy body.
Yeah, but because, like this inner knowing that I'm referring to, I wouldn't call it the gut feeling.
Ah.
The gut feeling, the way at least I understand it, like in my experience, it is related to the physical sensation in the body. It's more like this expansion or contraction thing, I think, for me.
Wait, so there is a physical component, even though you just described that the actual sense is in the energy body? There is a physical component in the gut, or do those happen at different times?
No, these are two different intuitions.
So sometimes you have a gut feeling intuition.
Sometimes it might be gut feeling, sometimes it's this inner knowing, which I distinguish from the gut feeling.
Oh, okay. Do they lead in the same direction usually, or do they have a different function?
Who knows?
Who knows? It's in the process.
Yeah, I'm still gathering empirical data on this one.
Well, thanks for sharing here. Yul, what comes up for you around this question? Do you want me to phrase it again? Do you how do you know when it's true intuition versus it's something else that's dressed up as intuition?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the question. I think for me also, I'm looking for different sources of information. And yes, the body is one of the sources. But then one of the things I'm also looking for, and I really like this lately, is looking for some clues. And it's sometimes physical clues in the outside environment. For example, like, well, I'm very much into plants, right? And all the natural world. And it could be like a plant, a specific plant, or something, a shape of a tree, or like something in my environment that's giving me actually visual clues to that. And then I also I used to be quite protective, almost, about this bodily nature of intuition, going into this like, okay, interoception and gut feeling and all those. But now I'm also like, not really. So I'm not the only one, who is sensing something, right? I'm interacting with other, like we discussed in Is the World Alive, right? I'm interacting with a lot of different agents, visible and not visible. So I'm also looking for, again, maybe this time not visual clues, but from the environment. And again, sometimes it's like, some thought all of a sudden. So I mean, thought, it's not like we don't see it as intuition, but sometimes I see thought as prompted by something that actually does support or does not support this, this intuitive something, or it helps to qualify it. Let's say, let's put it like that.
So you're describing like a relational aspect when it comes to your intuition, a relation with the outside world, plants, living things, and that leads you to an intuitive response? Am I getting that right?
That leads me to qualifying. What is it that, am I really procrastinating right now because I'm just tired? Or is it something or something is telling me that maybe this is best to be put aside for now? And I'm just trying to qualify it in different ways. Also, I've been a fan lately of fun stuff for qualifying, or there is I think it's called divination, or sometimes it's whatever, called different things. And basically you can just say, okay, let me get a clue by like thinking about a book that I'm going to pick up from that shelf, and maybe I'm going to open up this page and look up a word on the 10th line from the top and see what the sentence says to me. So things like that. So I'm really kind of like have diversified the sources.
I love that. You're like letting the field speak to you.
Yeah.
But what is your part of the intuitive kind of hit? Like, is it still it's somewhere in your body? What is it? Or is it in your energy field? How does it arise other than the external cue? What's your piece of the system?
So the answer to this, again, used to be easy, because I would say, okay, I know what's happening to my breath. I know what's happening to my heart rate or my gut feeling or whatever, I'm getting goosebumps and I'm changing the posture of my body, or the position is changing and I know something is up. And there is some of that, like a lot of clues that come from my body. But now it's really hard to say because there's so much of the interplay between different sources of information that I was like, where did I get that? I don't know, honestly.
Funny. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. There's that definitely a different element to all of this that I'm seeing is emerging. Um,
What about you, Pauline? How do
Thank you
you?
for asking. Yeah. So for me, I one of the clearest examples for this conversation is what you brought up. Of is this avoidance or is this intuition? Like that's one of the clearest signals for me these days because I do have an avoidance pattern. It's part of my system. Um, and some time ago, a friend of mine described her avoidance pattern, and that made me think about mine in a different way because she really described like, hey, sometimes I'm avoiding something. And then I start beating myself up. Oh, I'm not doing well enough or I'm not on time. Blah, 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 blah. But then she really started getting from the field those recognitions why it was not meant to be done. It was going to be a waste of time or I was going to shift anyway and change. So she was in the process of really getting to her intuitive sense around this. And then I was like, "Oh my God, wait. Is that what's happening to me as well?" And so I still don't know 100% certainty when this avoidance comes up. If it is me legitimately avoiding it because I just don't feel like doing it, or there's too many steps, or just like I'm getting a bit overwhelmed, or am I actually picking up on something that it's either just not ready yet, or I'm not in the right state for this thing yet, or like just things haven't come together yet. And the more I practice, just at least having awareness of this difference in mechanisms, it's still right, it still looks the same on the surface. So it requires a more tuning in to be like, hold on, is this like my system just like doesn't feel like it? Or is there some type of like sense, and it's kind of what you described here. It's also not really in my body. It's somewhere actually outside of the body. It's in like this other intelligence kind of space about okay, it's not this, it's just not yet or not now or and I don't know why, but it'll present itself. And usually when I look afterwards, right? So when I review it, post the thing that happened, then I'm like, oh, it makes sense why this was not a yes, right? There wasn't like that expansive yes, let's go for it. It wasn't me not avoiding it. It was actually me waiting. So there's such a difference between this waiting pattern for things to come together versus avoiding. And the body, in terms of expansion or contraction, is one of the clues, but usually it's not, I don't know that I have such a fine mechanism for what is it like in the body because it really does live outside the body for me. So there's lots of things that go on, but the more I start trusting that this is a thing, this is just part of the process. And the less fear there is around, like, okay, maybe I'll get it wrong. Maybe this was an avoidance pattern. Okay, like we're in the process of learning how to do this differently, so just like I'm giving myself a break around it, and that actually calms the nervous system down, and I think it helps to be more open to the true intuitive um guidance or data. So I think there's less moments that are dressed up like intuition, and it actually there is more intuition when it comes to avoidance. Avoidance. It's a bad word. Um,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, so you finished.
No, I'm done. Yeah.
Well, something was coming up for me when you were talking about avoidance and the story of your friend.
Yeah.
And I also have been a little bit changing my relationship with avoidance because of what is avoidance? Of course, there is avoidance because there is discomfort of doing something, but then there's also avoidance because maybe the rhythm and the speed from the outside is so fast that it's actually not sustainable for you or not the right speed for you. And so there's always this distinction. Okay, like how do I, in the world where things are moving so fast, I guess I do need to practice some avoidance to not let that speed get to me. And also know that, it's not like things or get done or like you get to right places. And I don't mean physical places, I mean like whatever, whole being places. Not because you're doing something fast, but because you follow your energy, your intuition, and all those things. So avoidance might be good. And for example, now I haven't been on LinkedIn for a long time, and when you exchange on LinkedIn, it's pretty fast because you send a message, and the person, if they can respond, like they do it, and it's like the speed is very fast. But now what I do is I send emails mostly, and I find myself like, I need to do more. I need to be sending more. But then it's like, okay, no, this isn't, and I'm asking myself, well, if this my intuition is telling me that there is energy in this project, I need to push it. But no, I actually think that there is this kind of pressure that comes from outside that makes me, okay, no, let's go for more, let's go for faster.
Yeah, so you're really again describing this parsing mechanism that's part of this whole intuition and your nervous system response. And I really resonate with the whole slowing down thing. Sometimes when I'm about to get overwhelmed because so much has to be done so quickly, I actually now started practicing. I'm just gonna slow down in this moment right now. And there's something that happens, it shifts things energetically. So what can I ask you, because this was actually my next question. What are some of your tools and skills other than the slowing down that you already mentioned, which sounds like a tool? What else do you do to help yourself self-regulate into a more receptive state where intuition is more likely to be clear or more apparent?
It's a question to both of us, right? So, you have an answer?
You never want to be the first one.
Well, I was posing it to Yuna because she already started answering the question, but she decided to punt the answer. Okay, let's start with Ira.
Well, for me, I think one of the most important, I don't even like calling it a tool, but okay, let's call it a tool, because it's for me, it's more than just centering or like self-regulation. It's the walking with the generative states. So the more I can regulate myself into more generative state, the more I'm open to not simply receiving, but also to perceiving and being able to decipher these messages from within and from the field. And I would say just the practice of paying attention. So mindfulness and like the things that was coming to me while I was listening to you, it's when we talk about all this, like how to learn to discern whether it's avoidance or it's just like the time to pause and to wait for things to be ready. It's also, and it's like, again, it's not a tool. It's more like the part of the inner work that that is important to be able to listen to all these voices and to discern between them. It's the exercise of trust. trust again in this inner voice, in myself, in the field, in the world, like all that we discussed, like when we were talking about trust. Because when there is this anxiety about the possible outcome, and it's difficult. So like at least I'm describing my experience here. So like the stakes are so high in my head, like whether I will be right or not, whether I will get to this experience or that experience. So it's very difficult to discern between all those voices, because like it's imperative to find the right answer. And what is the right answer? Like in this state for me is the answer that leads me to the circumstances that will help me to avoid what I want to avoid. Like the experience that I don't want to live.
Right.
So, and for me, it's also like it's a deliberate exercise.
What are some of the ways?
In trusting that I will be able to sustain whatever experience that, so like it lowers down the stakes.
Lowers the stakes. Okay, cool. And then how do you self-regulate? What kind of methods do you use?
Like everything what we do, like all the self-regulation things, like the breathing, the feeling the body, that just returning your attention to the here and now. Like the range is infinite.
And what you choose in the moment depends on what?
I would say, like in terms of self-regulation, my mostly go-to is the body scan, mindfulness of the body.
And then based on what the body's telling you, you'll choose the next.
No. It's not what of voice. It's just like I use it to become present.
Got it. Okay.
That's all. Like what signals I will be able to hear and discern when I'm present. It depends on the circumstances. But also, like I need to become present, as you said, and just to regulate the nervous system to be able to trust that I will be able to sustain whatever experience that is coming. To lower the stakes, and then it's easy to discern the voices.
Cool.
Easy,
Cool.
yeah.
Easier. Yeah. Yul?
Yeah, I was like hit on the head, right, like a year ago with connecting to the outside world and nature and plants, and basically I see them as a really powerful co-regulation force that I wish I had had earlier, because what we all of us, like the trees, the plants, we all have sentience, we all have intelligence. The plants and the trees have much older intelligence than people do. The difference between us is the speed, right? And so what do I do when I need to lower my speed? Okay, I used to go for breathing and mindfulness, but then it's still do some of that, but I'm in this at a stage where those, like the other beings, I turn to them for co-regulating me. And so this is what like I wake up in the morning nowadays, and I have those gardening experiments, and I go, for example, I planted a lot of things, a lot of wildflowers, some in the pots and some in the garden. And I go there, and basically now it's been 2 days. So I know there isn't much there that you can see. the interesting thing is that as I start looking, I know I'm gonna see something. I don't see anything, then I still stay with it. Then I start seeing one thing, then I start seeing two, three, four, and it's like, well, this is the process of slowing down, right? I didn't see anything because I was too fast. And now I'm seeing things that I didn't because I'm more into my senses and I'm more into my body. And I was guided there by someone, something that is much better than me at slowing down. And this is my favorite method nowadays. I think if I didn't like, maybe if all my family were to go on a trip or something and I was to stay at home alone, well, because I still feel some pressure from my family. I was like, come on, staring at this thing for like an hour is still a little bit too much. Like I think I could honestly like spend a day just doing that. Um, yeah, and then or if I feel that pressure to make a decision, I know then I should take a time like half a day almost on go into dancing, go into the woods where you don't really walk into the woods, but you just like whatever, like explore, take different paths, do nothing, don't set any goals for when you come back, where you go. This is also a cool thing.
I love it. You're describing the art of slowing down, but also pace. Like we don't consider playing with the pace of ourselves and the pace of things and like, is this pace really necessary? I mean, those are really cool new questions that are my field also. And it's almost like it really shifts things so rapidly. Like the almost instantaneously when I make the decision to slow down, suddenly the whole thing shifts. Because it's almost like you're tuning into a different frequency, like, right? Or a different, I don't know. I'm still exploring this, but that's what it sounds like you're describing, right, Ewan?
I think I'm pouring my slowing down. I guess you can exactly you can name it in different ways.
Yeah,
Tuning into another frequency or um, I don't know, like allowing forces to pull you into a different state or something like that, I guess.
that's cool.
What are yours, Pauline?
Um, Well, first in the first thing that I do in the morning, or I try to do in the morning always, just to set myself up for, I think, a different pace and a different reality, is self-regulation. I do my PQ reps, but I also do some other like meditative embodiment practices, whether it's breathing or nowadays, thanks to you, Yul, I will focus on a tree if there's one around, and I will focus on a bird, but without direct eye contact these days. I'm experimenting. Or I will zoom out and focus on the ocean as well to see how can I co-regulate with the elements in the environment. Um, but for me, the way what works for me the fastest at this moment in time is more like of a direct embodiment thing. Um, but I really have also been experimenting with this whole slowing down thing, and it's almost like a magic, what Ida would say is magic, because it makes no sense to my rational brain why it would shift things so much so quickly and how reality could take on a totally different form just because you slowed down intentionally? What? Um, and actually, funny enough, the more I do these practices that, all three of us are familiar with, the more I do it, the more it's available for me without even that much effort. But it certainly helps with the nervous system regulation so that I am in a more receptive state. I can tune in and at least have an opportunity to decipher, is this something that's coming up that's not maybe intuition, but it's something else. Feel into the field more. Just be more available for that attunement process with like the higher intelligence of things. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. And it's cool when you slow down. It's so cool to be in a slow space. It's just, yeah.
It is. So from you, I heard self-regulation, receive, perceive, decipher. I like those three. Discernment and exercise of trust, so that you could really attune to your inner voice and yourself and the field and the world more. And for you, Yule, I heard connect to the outside world and nature and plants and um, powerful co-regulation with those elements, right? And really playing with slowing down and accessing a different speed than maybe the external world speed. Um, yeah, does that
Than the human world speed.
the human world speed? Exactly, exactly. Cool. I'm thinking, uh, so if intuition is our most intelligent regulate, or maybe I should phrase it differently. If intuition is the most integrated intelligence, then how do we design our lives to honor it?
What do you mean by the most integrated intelligence?
Well, from what you described, is you're accessing data that's not necessarily from like your internal, maybe what your brain wants, right? Or thinks or says about it. What Yulia also described, like the mind has its own mind, but you're actually able to tune into something beyond the brain, and access intelligence even in your energy field, Iris, how you described it, right? Intelligence that goes beyond the brain and feels more expansive. So, and then for Yule, it's also with the elements and with speed. All of that sounds like we're accessing more of our intelligence beyond what we usually associate with intelligence as being only a thing in the brain, right? Just tied to our thoughts and our feelings and chemicals and interpretations. So that's how it's showing up for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it sounds like more that like it's one more kind of intelligence or wisdom that we have access to, may have access to. I, I don't know, like something in the phrase the most integrated intelligence doesn't resonate with me, at least.
But integrated because you're connecting to more than just your brain. So we're integrating the relational aspect, like what Yulia was describing. We're integrating the different sensations, right? And what you're accessing and how you're accessing.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I meant by that.
Okay. So it sounds like not so much integrated, but more integrative, because it integrates more data, more sources of the wisdom and intelligence.
Sure, that could be a better use of that word. Yeah, yeah.
So I think to answer the question, how do we honor it more? It's like all what we have discussed already. It's the matter of, again, um, all kinds of self-regulation, like to learn to be in the moment, to be present, to slow down, to be attentive to all the signals, like around us and within us. It's so like it's just a matter of the constant exercise of paying attention, to all kind of details of our experience that presents, like, in the body and outside the body, and like literally in the outside world. And it also, as I said before, the exercise of trust. So like, if we're coming from the rational mind and we're coming from the partners of no, like we need to like to see the logical chain of like arguments that leads to a certain decision. So at a certain moment, we need to do this leap of faith. Okay, like, no, I will trust the other source of information. And it also just the constant practice, it's constant exercise of trust. So I guess to add to the like one of the most important component would be opening up to the possibility that like there is this wider intelligence and wisdom available to us, and opening up to the like being able not yeah, opening up to the possibility of listening to it and hearing it.
Yeah. Cool. Yul?
Yeah, opening up, I think, is the way. Because it seems like exactly there's so much intelligence around us, and it's now even the Western science has been catching up to this intelligence that, well, like, look at that, like the sea, then came, certain types of plants like ferns, and then only, developed other types of plants, and then the animals. They were all so successful at, surviving in this world. And when the people came, this is what shaped our like humanness, let's say, because like we got everything from that environment. Like we were new. So it's like, and that environment, we used to be very kind of like in tune and open to it, because of course our life depended on being open to sensing stuff, basically to survive. But also because we were learning, I was like, okay, now let's look at the bear. Polina discussed the bear is like a great example of someone who, according to anthropological evidence, people would look up to, because there was a lot to learn from the bear. How the bear survives, how the bear eats, how the bear behaves, and then like the plants back and forth. We have those taste receptors, and let's say, like, I really loved the first time that I heard on like some course. There were herbalists discussing teas and infusions, and they say, it's like, okay, well, what is tea? You can think about it as a way of this plant that's in that infusion of talking to you, and like getting this information across to you in a way that both of you can understand and exchange. And so, okay, so how about experimenting and not discounting all the sources of information? You, of course, being the source, and that requires opening the senses and listening to the body. But then there are like lots of sources of information that also feed into like what's going on into your intuition. And I think that's opening up, and also creating some space in life for doing that, because like faster doesn't at all mean better, and but also ironically, faster is easier because you just like, really in the flow with the modern human civilization that is moving really fast and has no clue where it's moving towards. So
You mean so faster is not necessarily better?
exactly.
Yeah. I thought you, because I think you said faster is ironically better, but you meant not better. Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. I resonate with everything that both of you have said. So openness, definitely trust, but also experimentation. I mean, and giving yourself permission to experiment. Like really, I think that was a big one for me, to give myself permission to experiment, which by extension meant I'm no longer buying into the status quo of what I thought life should be or how I thought I should live or how things are supposed to be done. Really, that was, one of the biggest mechanisms that helped me to become more open, to become more curious, to be willing to experiment, and that led to a lot of the things that are now in my field that I have accessible to me that facilitate the ability to design my life more from the space of intuition and really honor that there are things beyond what the brain knows and how I've been conditioned, right? To see the world, me in the world, and how that interaction is supposed to occur. Um, so that's what I would add um, for myself for that one. Last question. When we think of intuition, we usually think of it as a personal thing, although you've brought in that co-regulative aspect with nature. But what about collective intuition? Can we reflect on that briefly? Have you experienced like a group field that knows something before any of the individuals actually know something?
Well, I think that this is at least partially what's all the signals that we describe as, like the information that is coming from the field. So I think at least partially it's coming from this collective intuition,
Mm.
like the collective knowledge, state gaze, like collective and unconscious consciousness, whatever. I feel like at all level of like subconsciousness. So the thing is with the collective intuition is that it's something that is in the air, but very often because we don't have in our culture honoring these kind of signals. So like things are in the air, but we don't know what they are. So unless someone very wise, intelligent, finds a rational explanation of what is going on and why we need to pay attention to the signals. So it's just or have all the impact on our nervous systems. And more often than not, we don't know what is going on.
Mm.
So I think we have access to it more through our individual intuitions because we have less awareness still of our interconnectedness as really like as collective consciousness.
What was coming up for me when you were sharing is that there really is a difference. I think I'm now touching this difference a little bit more. There's really a difference between collective consciousness and collective intuition. And so that requires even more parsing, because collective consciousness could be a lot of the patterning and the coping mechanisms, a lot of like kind of the hijacking of who we actually might be, right? Their higher intelligence. But then the collective intuition, I think, is something else. It goes beyond all of that. And I think I want to make that a new practice to like play with tuning into those differences. That's just what was coming up for me as you were describing your experience with this. Yul?
Yeah, it's a question I haven't really thought much about. And the only, I guess, conscious experience that I have of practicing collective intuition together is improv. And this is like how we practice group
Mm.
mind. And I mean, it takes really a lot of unconditioning. It's like you practice, and your first instinct is to like think that this is only your thing that's coming up, or kind of like not to go there because you have an instinct or discount it, or yeah, it's hard to explain, so probably I'm not going to go there, but it's fun when it works, like the group intuition and the group mind. And when something happens like on the stage, it happens a lot on the stage of experienced improvisers. For me, I'm still kind of a student, right? And like, but when it happens in the student group, like, it's really cool. It's like, we have done it. And there's this, of course, that like there's this closeness then between the people, because it's like, wow, like we share things.
I love what you brought up. I have to now like tune in, and maybe we'll have another episode on this. But what are the distinctions between instinct and intuition? Are they the same? Are they different? I don't know. When you were describing, you used that word very quickly. The instinct, I was like, oh, wait, instinct versus intuition. I feel like they're very different, but they can work together. It's an interesting one. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Um, okay, I think that in the interest of time, we should start wrapping things up. And I just want to take a moment and check in with you both and see what's arising after this conversation, this time we've spent together. Any thoughts, sensations that you want to leave us and whoever's listening to us with?
I'm hooked up on the collective intuition thing. I want to tune in more into what's in the field for it. Like, yeah, like your distinction between collective consciousness and collective intuition, it's something that, well, it requires more tuning in. Like, it might be an interesting reflection.
Yeah. I think for me, I just want to end up with a realization that I'm now having, that kind of practicing, acknowledging, and flowing with the intuition has been saving a lot of energy for me, because usually there is, when you build up the walls between your intuition and the brain, like there is so much conflict going on, and just constant energy expenditure through a lot of tension and negotiation, things like that. And it's not to say it's easy to start flowing with your intuition, because as we discussed, sometimes it's scary and it feels wrong. So like it's something to be experimented with. But then when it starts to happen, I think it feels kind of very light.
I love that perspective about the whole energy expenditure. It's so true. I really resonate with that. It seems counterintuitive, um, because trusting more requires kind of like jumping off a cliff almost. But in reality, it actually does require less energy to be in that state, and maybe because there are some flow elements to it as well, than the holding on to like that, the more of the fear and the like the contractive elements when we're not in a state of being receptive and open and flowing and intuitive, right? And like living in that way. Um, and for me, I'm also super curious right now to start tuning into the whole collective aspect, just like what you said, Ir. Collective intuition. And I think that instinct plays plays a role in collective intuition. Something is like jiving for me around those aspects. So it's something new to experiment and play with. Um, and yeah, I wanna have more generative conversations around all of this. I feel like we're only touching like the very tip of this big huge topic. Um, I want to offer for us and also the listeners to maybe try some things this week or over the next few weeks. Maybe try slowing down. See what is it like when you slow down instead of doing things very quickly or at a pace you're used to. See what that does to your nervous system. How does that potentially shift the field for you, or your ability to attune or pick up on more of what's available. Maybe journal about that experience so that you can actually ground it more and have more awareness about it. Um, Maybe even try some micro decisions. What is it like to make micro decisions? That could be part of like playing with the whole speed of things. Do the two of you have something as an idea for a bit of practice?
Nope.
Just get outside. Okay, get outside without an agenda. That's
I love that. Get lost in the forest.
Practice for us or practice for our listeners?
For all of us and our listeners. We're in this experiment together.
And it's just like one of the exercises I always give in my creativity courses, and not only in creativity courses, but it's like it it might be seen as an exercise of just exercise of imagination, but it's actually about opening up to to the challenges of the world outside oneself. Just imagine that the world is talking to you. Ask whatever question you need the answer for, and as Julie described, look for the answers outside.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good one. And also, actually, you'll per our, 'cause the conversations you and I have had before, the feeling into which road to take and maybe not taking the same road you're usually taking, that could be also a really cool little micro experiment, right? To see, well, what is it like? Both to make a different type of decision that's not out of habit, but also to try something new, right? To be open, to see which road calls you. All of these little, I think exercises can help as we play and explore with all of these topics, right? So intuition is not necessarily something we have to build, but it sounds like it's more something we uncover by removing the noise. The more we slow it down, the more we regulate, the more we get curious, the more that that system, that process can speak to us, so to speak. And we'd love to hear from the listeners about their intuitive stories and what awakened for you today from having this time with us in this conversation. So until next time, play, experiment, stay open, connect with us. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. How was it for you? We believe that the more people experience group flow together, the better off we all are. More connected, more creative, more alive. So let's expand the field.
If this episode resonated with you, help us spread the word. Share it with a friend, leave a comment, or give us a rating. We love you.
Do subscribe so you'll know when the next experiment comes out. You can also connect with us on our Life and Flow group Substack. We'd love to hear from you. Let's keep flowing together.